Shipe Sports Show.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Shipe Sports Talk Show. Welcome to our NFL special kickoff show live at Buffalo Wings and Beer in Germantown, Maryland, the Kingsview Shopping Center. If you're listening on YouTube or watching, come out and join us. We'll take your questions on fantasy. We'll take your questions on any of your teams today. There's over 24 HD televisions for all your NFL Sunday needs. Joined always by my co-host and producer Paul in the background working the stuff.
Hey, how's it going?
Joined to my left by David, the coach Shipe, as always.
Hey, thanks.
And joined by Brad, Lefty Cameron.
Hey, Shipe. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're welcome. And thank you to everyone here who's came out this early to watch us. We appreciate it. So we're going to start the show today with some fantasy week 1 predictions. We're going to go over, our top quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, and maybe some plays for the week. I'm going to go off. I think the number one quarterback that you should start this week, and the two over there will love this, will be Sam Bradford. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game against Atlanta on Monday, and I think Atlanta's defense did not improve as much as they should. And I can see Sam Bradford going for maybe 3 touchdowns and maybe over 300 yards. Brad, what about your quarterback?
I think Sam Bradford's a good pick, but I look at a matchup between the Bears and the Packers, and you're looking at a very depleted Chicago Bears team that doesn't have any identity offensively, really won't be able to move the ball well. The ball is going to be in Aaron Rodgers' hands a lot today, and he is going to make things happen. Aaron Rodgers is going to be my go-to. I think that's a safer bet than Sam Bradford because he's played the Bears. The Packers have been together. I got Aaron Rodgers as my top start at quarterback.
Now, the coach is not much of a fantasy player, but if you had to go with a quarterback this week, who would it be? Who do you think is going to be a good quarterback this week?
You know what? I'll go with a little surprise here. Wait, where did the gentleman go to? I had him sitting right here a minute ago. And he left. He must not be that good. You know what? Go with Luck.
Luck?
Ooh, Luck right. At Buffalo.
Well, we got to see how Luck comes out the gate this year.
Yeah.
For running back, my start of the week is going to be, I'm going to go with C.J. Anderson. I think he finished strong last year. He was a top-rated running back last 6 weeks of the season. I mean, he's got a tough matchup against the Ravens, but as we saw in the preseason, the Ravens defense did not look too well. The Eagles were running up and down the field on them as well.
Skins did the same thing.
Yes. Actually, Skins didn't run that much once. They didn't do too much against the Ravens.
We did well.
Once the starters came out, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But I like C.J. Anderson this week. I like definitely for PPR. C.J.'s a pick. I mean, he can catch passes out of the backfield and everything. So I'm gonna go with C.J. Brad, what about your running back?
Man, this is tough. I think a guy who's been dying to get back on the football field, Adrian Peterson, is gonna come out lightning. His first game back with Minnesota. So I have to go with Adrian Peterson, and I think he's just too well rested, too anxious, and he's going to come out at another level.
I think you took the coach's pick.
I can change, Coach, if you want.
No, that's right. Go ahead. Just keep it because I'm going to come back with DeMarco Murray.
Okay.
Those two are loving it. The Eagles are all getting all the hype right now.
I'm not on the bandwagon.
And then we're going with wide receivers. I'm going to go with Dez Bryant on this one. I think we talked about the Giants secondary where they did improve during the offseason, but I think Bryant will take advantage, especially of Landon Collins. Collins even came out and said that he feels that Tony Romo's going to attack them, and I think they're going to attack him big with Dez Bryant. So if the rookie can't come up, Dez Bryant's going to have a really big day against that Giants defense. Brad, your wide receiver?
Okay. Eagles fan, you're going to like this. I'm going to take Jordan Matthews. I think it's his time now to be the number one target, and I think he's going to have good chemistry with Sam Bradford, and that is going to be a shootout game, just like you said, Shipe. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, and I think Jordan Matthews is probably going to get 2 touchdowns and about 100 yards today.
All right. Coach, wide receiver pick you should have?
Odell Beckham. I don't
Monday.
think the Cowboys have anybody that can keep him under wraps for today.
And he was playing the Cowboys when he had the famous catch.
True.
Was the famous catch. All right, we're going to go with, we'll go quick to tight ends. And I'm going to go with Delaney Walker of the Titans. Yes, I'm a Titans fan, but they always say a rookie's best friend is the tight end. And Delaney Walker proved himself last year once he got out the shadows of Vernon Davis that he can perform well in any situation. So I like Delaney Walker being a little safe haven for Mariota this year. Brad?
Well, are we still allowed to take Gronkowski?
No, you can't.
Okay,
he's already gone.
Obviously, a great game for Rob. I'm gonna go with Jimmy Graham. In a new system, I think Seattle is going to really try and get the ball to him to get him comfortable, and I think he's going to have a good game. I think Russell Wilson's going to like using Jimmy Graham, and I think he's going to have a really solid week.
Coach, what kind of tight end do you like this week?
Well, I kind of like the tight end that the Broncos picked up, Owen Daniels, who has been with Kubiak for the last few years.
I think he's been with Kubiak his whole career.
Yeah.
When he went to the Ravens, he went over, so
Yep.
I think Kubiak knows how to do it.
Yeah, I think he may be a good breakdown guy for Peyton today.
Okay.
All right, now we'll go with defense, and I may get a lot of boos up in here, but I'm going to go with the Miami defense against the Redskins. I think the Redskins are going to have some trouble. Their offensive line did not look too good in the preseason. Now you have to go against Namakatsu and Cameron Wake, who are going to come at you from both angles. I think Kirk Cousins could be in trouble this week, and he may be running around a lot. So I think Miami's defense is the start of the week for defense. Brad, your defense?
I'm going to go with Houston. I think with Clowney healthy, J.J. Watt is going to have tons of energy. Despite the fact that I think Kansas City is a solid football team, I just think this defense with J.J. Watt as a leader can always get to the next level, and I think they're going to come out hot, come out angry. So I got Houston as my defense to start.
Coach, your defense, if you had to pick one?
I'm trying to look and see what the lowest scoring game I have this week and go with that defense. Let me throw one up here. Remember, these picks I'm saying are not guaranteed, so let's go with the Dallas defense.
All right, that could work depending on how if Eli can't get it going with Odell.
True.
So we'll see what happens there. All right, we're going to go with some sleeper picks real quick. And I think one sleeper that people should look at should be Eric Decker of the Jets, only because that Brandon Marshall is going to be paired up against Harden from the Browns. So they're going to concentrate a lot on Marshall. And I think Decker, as a slot receiver there, hopefully they can utilize him a little bit more. I think he'll be a nice little safe haven. And Fitzpatrick, I believe, is a better passer than Geno Smith. Your sleeper, Brad?
My sleeper this week is Teddy Bridgewater. I think Minnesota comes out strong against a very, very confused San Francisco team. I think a lot of people have him starting, but he should be a top 5 start this week, in my opinion, because of the matchup against kind of a very poor Niners squad right now.
Coach, what kind of sleeper do you have this week for a player who could perform better than what people think?
Can I go with players?
Yeah.
Colts offensive line.
Okay.
I like that. That could work because it gives the Colts the Frank Gore and everything.
Frank Gore, Andrew Luck, time to throw.
I'll give that. All right. Well, if anyone has any fantasy questions throughout the show, you're more welcome to come up here. We'll get you on the mic. We'll get you on camera. You're going to ask your questions away. Anyone, any leads. So you can do that throughout the show.
You'll have to sign your life away first.
We're going to turn our attention real quick to the game on Thursday night, which featured the Patriots versus the Steelers. The Patriots came out on top 28-21, and Tom Brady looked like he didn't show any rust. I'm sure the balls were flated up to 13 PSI like they were supposed to be. And he went out there in the rain and was gunslinging it around. Julian Edelman looked good. Ron Gronkowski, if anyone who has him on fantasy, just piled up the points with him. And Tom Brady piled up points. And Ben Roethlisberger on the other side, he looked just as good. He had a touchdown. He threw the one mistake interception at the very end where he overthrew Brown. He underthrew Brown. Not Brown, sorry. Hayward Bay. No, it was Hayward Bay.
That's right.
Hayward Bay came out and was making some plays. Former Maryland grad. But Brady finished today with 25 for 32 for 288 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like I said, Gronk had what can you say about Gronk this game? He had 5 catches, 94 yards for 3 touchdowns. Edelman, 11 catches for 97 yards. And the little surprise for the Patriots was their running back, Lewis, who ran for quietly 67 yards. He was getting them carries on the ground, getting them going. Then you have Ben Roethlisberger on the other side, 26 for 38, 351 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Antonio Brown had 9 receptions for 133 yards in that late score, which in Vegas made a $100 million swing in gambling around Vegas, so that turned the tide a lot. And another surprise was D'Angelo Williams, 21 carries for 127 yards, so he looked really good.
Yeah, solid.
He looked solid coming with a new team, so good for him. But I think the Patriots showed them that they're here to stay again. There's all this talk about Deflategate was behind them and everything, and I think they're here. They're here. They're showing this is their division again.
It looks like it. You definitely have to take in consideration all the off-field distractions that the Patriots have had, but they put all that beside them, especially Tom Brady, and got right back down to business. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. They came out looking like the defending Super Bowl champs. I also think they laid the groundwork for other teams how to beat Pittsburgh. This Pittsburgh defense is nothing like it was in the last 5 years. It's very poor now, and I think the Patriots found the exact way to expose it. And other teams, I think, are going to use that type of frame to dissect Pittsburgh in the same way. So, the Patriots look good, and the Steelers, they need to get that defense up.
Coach, what were your thoughts on the first game of the year on Thursday?
Well, let's see. You talk about my game or the Steelers game. My game was terrible.
Your game was terrible. Gatesburg's JV lost 14.
Yeah, we had 71 players suited and still had 71 players suited.
All right, let's start with the Patriots game.
What the thing impressed me was people are talking about, how bad the Pittsburgh defense would play this year. But there were some bright spots in there. I mean, when you get New England to get out to the lead that they got out to, and now Pittsburgh's trying to come back. And, you look at a couple of things the defense did to keep them in the game and give them the opportunity. I mean, there was an opportunity there for Roethlisberger at one time to tie the game. So I think they're going to get better. And the thing with, the Patriots, it's, the Patriots versus the world right now. And the last time that situation happened, which they won the last Super Bowl, you're looking at that time was a 15 or 16-0 team. So, they may just say, okay, this is us, this is you, and we're going to take it, try to get us. You tried to get us all year, it didn't work. So now we're going to get you back on the field.
And another thing is about the Patriots. I mean, they just came out just amazingly. They came out amazing. They were going down the field. But here's the thing about the Steelers. I think they found the flawed in the Patriots as well as going after what's the cornerback, Butler. Yeah, they went after Malcolm Butler with Antonio Brown, and Brown was tearing him up.
Well, no one can stop Brown to Butler's defense.
Yeah, and also you looked. I mean, Roethlisberger had a lot of people running down the streams that were wide open as they were overthrowing them. The receiver maybe dropped the ball. I mean, Hayward Bay had that one touchdown in the end zone. He's got to pay attention to where his foot's at. I mean, he hasn't been relevant in a couple of years, but you got to have the awareness. And their kicker missing 2 field goals, that doesn't really help because you give the Patriots better field position.
Sure.
But I think the Patriots, not only they look good, but I think there's some flaws in their defense, and they could be in trouble if they don't get this cornerback. And you can show they're missing Brower. They're going to miss Revis this year, and it's really going to affect them.
Yeah.
I mean, with Brown running down the sidelines, you had Wheaton running down, you had Hayward Bay. So, I mean, you can see some of these teams in their division take advantage of that, especially I think the Dolphins, the best, will take advantage of that. They got some really good speedy receivers there with Landry, and then you have Parker. So, and Tannehill, he's not a slouch himself, and then you have the Bills.
Okay. I hear you, but outside of that last touchdown that Antonio Brown had, 14 points is all I have to say to you.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that they had the open receivers. The Steelers weren't making the plays. They had a lot of people down the field where if they called it, they were going to the touchdown, but they weren't catching it. That's what I'm trying to say is that there's flaws in this Patriots defense. The Steelers just didn't take advantage of it early like they should have, and maybe a better team would take advantage of it. Because someone like the Broncos, Manny won't miss with those passes to Thomas.
A better team. Roethlisberger tied for the most yards last year passing with Drew Brees.
I'm saying in terms of someone who will not make that many mistakes. I mean, you make mistakes against a Broncos team, they're going to take advantage.
He's a 2-time Super Bowl winner.
He is, but I'm just saying they made mistakes. You did them against people that don't make, anyone else in that situation with Manny or them. They're going to make mistakes as well. So, I mean, they got very lucky, the Patriots, I think, this week. That's what I'm trying to say. Well, you can't make mistakes like that against other elite quarterbacks like Roethlisberger because anyone else, could make the throw too.
Oh, okay, I hear what you're saying. But you have to remember one thing, and the guy's been around many, many, many years, and he's a great coach. The Patriots still have Bill Belichick on the sideline. His philosophies on defense, the way he adjusts, his game time adjustments. You talk about other great coaches. You go back, and I'm getting off the line here, but you go back Joe Gibbs, his halftime adjustments with the offense of the Redskins back when they were good. And now you have Belichick who can go in, keep keep me in it in the first half, and I'll make some adjustments and help out. Now, even though he doesn't have the greatest players in the secondary that he had the last couple of years, he'll come up with a way to scheme things that he can get either over-under help or inside-outside help on a couple of these good receivers that they're going to eventually face during the year. Okay, so I think give it a chance. It's only the first week. If anything, when it comes up to these other teams that have these great receivers, I think you're going to see some schemes. And heck, he can double scheme if they have two great receivers. All right, and get it done. So I think that will get into a progress as the season goes on. And that secondary, you may see improvement in it towards the end of the year. Hey, if they want to fight to the playoffs, they better improve.
Yeah, especially when you have to go against people like Manning and Luck. I mean, they'll open those flaws just like Roethlisberger was trying to do, but just didn't make the plays. That's what I was trying to say, is that he's gonna have to face other quarterbacks that can make those plays as well.
Yes, they'd have to tighten it down.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a really good opening game, I believe. Like you said, it should have been 28-14 with a late touchdown, but I think it was a great way to begin the season. I mean, you couldn't script it even better. A lot of the announcers were saying that it was almost like a WWE perfect pay-per-view, just two heavyweights going right at it for the title right off the gate.
Yeah, it was good.
All right, we're going to jump into Around the NFL. We're going to talk about every matchup that we think will be key this week. Other key matchup besides the Redskins and the Dolphins. We'll get into that matchup later. I'm going to start with a game that not too many people are talking about on TV as much because, the whole Deflategate, and I think it's getting swept under the rug a little bit. And yes, it's about the Titans is the number 1 pick versus number 2 pick this year in the draft. You have Mariota versus Winston, and I don't know if the schedule people maybe planned ahead and say, oh, maybe these two guys will start. But, I mean, you're going to have number 1 versus number 2, and this is where we see, maybe who's progressed better in the preseason. So, first, Brad, what are your thoughts on this, and who do you think maybe has progressed better throughout the 4 weeks?
Well, this is very, very tough because one quarterback is working with 2 really, really good receivers, and the other quarterback is kind of working with a mediocre at best offense. So this is, this is very, very hard to say. Jameis Winston has Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson to throw the football to, and Marcus Mariota has Delaney Walker, maybe.
Kendall Wright.
Oh, okay. Would you rather have Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, or Kendall Wright? I'm just saying, this isn't a fair fight, because Mariota doesn't have the talent around him. I think Mariota will create plays, but Winston already has a lot of talent around him, and so it's kind of like Marcus Mariota has to shape his whole team by itself. For the Bucks, their team is already put together relatively well. They got Muscle Hamster, who was a little dinged up last year, had a tough year last year, but it looks like he's going to come back healthy. They got Vincent Jackson, they got Mike Evans. All they really need is someone to get these guys the football, and they have that now. Mariota is starting from ground zero with a bunch of young players and no real studs like Evans and like Jackson. And so, when I look at how I want to gauge them, really I want to see if Mariota can take charge and really grow confidence in those other guys, where Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson are going to do their thing. It's just a matter of, can Jameis Winston get them the football? So it's 2 different kind of things that you're kind of looking for. But I think Mariota will show that he can settle down, with pass rushes, extend plays with his feet, and get receivers open that sort of way. So I think Mariota is going to have a better game, and I think Tennessee gets the W.
I see what you're saying about Mariota in terms of talent and everything. I feel like for the Titans, they have the talent there. They have to show it now. I feel like Hunter has been underachieving. They can get him going somehow. He has starting to get some more flashes in the preseason, but use his size. You have Beckham Green, the rookie, who has great size for a receiver. He took the year off from college, refocused himself, but you saw where they said if he had played last year, he would have been a top 10 pick as a wide receiver. If he had played, he didn't get to show off his talent. You have Harry Douglas, who's a great route runner, was a great safe haven for Matt Ryan when he lost Jones or Roddy White. Then you have Kendall Wright, and a lot of people are going back to last year about Kendall Wright. He didn't show himself, where I think the problem with Kendall Wright last year was they put him on the outside role, where we saw when Kendall was in the slot 2 years ago, he had a 100 receiving yard year. That's where he belongs, as the slot. And if you get someone like Douglas, Hunter, and Beckham going, you can put Kendall Wright where he belongs back in that slot and get him going across the field, get him to use his speed, which RG3 used when he was at Baylor. When he was at Baylor, Kendall Wright was a very big target for him in that slot position because he can move around and get open when you get the scramble going. The big question for Tennessee's offense for me is going to be the running back situation with you have Sankey. They just went out and got Terrence West, but the rookie who I was really looking at is out for, I believe 6 weeks now. He got on the PUP list. Mm-hmm. So you have to see how Bishop Sankey does this year. You have Dexter McCuster who can produce stuff right out of the backfield. I mean, he's a dynamic player who can make plays if you get him in the open field. And then you have Terrence West, who will be active this week, just got traded from Cleveland. I guess, they said he ran through a few problems there. But last year as a rookie, he was no slouch himself for the Browns. I mean, he made a lot of plays for the Browns as well.
True, but I think it's going to be a couple weeks before he starts making
impact. Because you got to get the offense going. But
Yeah, sure.
I think the question mark for the Titans offense mainly is going to be that running back situation to where can Sankey finally take the next step as a second year. Last year he struggled. See what happens. But I think this Titans defense is going to give some trouble to Winston. You bring in Brian Arakpo from the Redskins. You re-sign Derek Morgan. You have Casey on the defensive end. You bring in Parrish Cox from the 49ers. Then you have Jason McCourty. So you have some weapons there. They finally went out. Fans were begging them, get us some defense, get us something going. You have to change this defense, and you did. You bring in Dick LeBeau from the Steelers, who was a defensive genius for years there. Mm-hmm. And I think, I really think Brian Arakpo could actually, I think this will be a better system for him than the Redskins, I think. I think as history has shown, whenever someone leaves the Redskins, they seem to do better wherever they go, and history has shown that a lot.
I'll give you credit on that, but I will not give you credit on the Redskins system. Our system was fine. Arakpo wouldn't stay on the field, so his numbers were bad simply because he couldn't stay healthy.
When I mean system, I mean with he has a great coach now that can hopefully get him to the next step where he should have always been.
What, he has a better trainer? Now he's going to stay healthy?
I didn't say trainer. I said coach and LeBeau.
Oh, well.
LeBeau makes people better.
But does he make them healthy?
Well, let's hope.
What I'm telling you is the key for Arakpo is not the system. The key for Arakpo to be successful is to play football. You can't play football when you're tearing your pec muscle. You can't play football when you're off the field all the time. So I don't care what system you're in. If you're sitting on the bench, it could be the worst system or the best system. You're going to put up the same numbers. Nothing.
Well, I think he's going to be healthy this year. He's going to put up big numbers, and you guys are going to be really bitter.
Okay.
And the one thing that's going to hurt me about the Tampa Bay this week is Evans is hurt. He's not playing healthy, so that could affect him a little bit. Yes, he's a great receiver. He's got great, size, but being hurt will affect you. And I want to see what Doug Martin does. He had a great preseason, but last year he was horrible. He stunk it up last year, and we all can agree on that.
Yeah, but I heard reports where he was never fully healthy last year, and
Well, we have to see what he can do this year. I mean, he had a great rookie campaign. He was an amazing rookie.
Yes, that's the thing. I think both these teams have a lot of question marks. They're two of the worst teams. They had number one and number two draft pick. So there's a lot of question marks for both of these teams, and so there's a lot to watch for in that game. You're right. There's a lot of youth and there's a lot of newer faces on these teams, and so it is going to be interesting to see, which team can gather themselves enough to be competitive in the NFL this year.
The main thing about Mariota is when you watch all the preseason, they never really utilize any type of read option or him running. So I want to see if they deploy that this year and see if they've been hiding anything during the training camp preseason where maybe they start using his ability to run the ball. Coach, what are your thoughts on this game?
What you got? Oh, I'm not. Sorry. No, I just think what you have here is a game with like you have picks 1 and 2, and what you got is two rookie quarterbacks. The thing that you want to make sure is, all supporting cast they have or do not have is, I think, irrelevant. Okay? It's how each one of them will apply the scheme that the head coaches want to run offense today. Okay, can they fully adapt to it, apply what's necessary, stick to it, or go away from it, which may not be the best cause for the game. And plus, you're going to look at it with either defense, the Bucs or the Titans defense, they are going to come after these two guys. Okay, they're going to pin their ears back and say, let's just come see what they can do under pressure. Because you look at this, and here's two good quarterbacks. They say great quarterbacks in college football. But you have to remember, college football, they played against some good teams and played very well. But you're going up against 11 pros on the defensive side of the ball, And it's not like, well, there's some of these defenses in college, you got one or two defensive players that are not as good as some, and you can exploit them. But here, you know, it's how you survive today is how the game's going to turn out. So they're going to get a lot of pressure. They have to just the one that utilizes their system the best is going to be the winner of the game.
All right, so we'll have to see how they manage those two quarterbacks. And, you know, they're rookies, so you have to bring them along. You can't just put them right out there. But we'll see what happens. I mean, one of those two teams should be surprised this year.
And whoever wins the first game is going to be surprised.
Oh, it will be. So we're going to jump right as to we're going to go with some Redskins division opponents for the next two games we're going to cover. First, we're going to cover the Philly and Atlanta's game. And this game's very interesting because we saw Philly's offense during the preseason was just up and down the field, scoring 100 points a game, it seemed like. Sam Bradford looked like he hadn't missed a step since being out. You got DeMarco Murray, and you got a three-headed beast at running back there. You got Murray, you got Matthews, and then you got Sproles, which I think is going to benefit Murray a lot. As we saw last year, even the Cowboys came up and said, oh, we're going to bury Murray to the ground. We're going to run him for all he's worth before he becomes a free agent, which they did. You saw Murray out there on 3rd and 10, you know, where maybe he's not really a third down back, but now that he's in Philly, you know, maybe if it's like a 3rd and short or something, you bring in Matthews, let Matthews pound it. If it's a 3rd and 10, you bring in Sproles, use some running back, you know, wide receiver packages there with Sproles. And also for Murray, same can go for Ryan Matthews, so where he was not healthy because he was expected to be the main man in San Diego and he couldn't stay healthy. So now you switch those two up. Now they don't have to carry the workload of a whole team, and you know maybe they can stay healthier for the whole year, especially for Murray, because I think last year a lot of years went off his playing career with the way Dallas was using him. And another thing for Philly is I always said Chip Kelly runs that team like a college team. Every year you see him get rid of the big-time players and brings in new players to his system, almost like he's recruiting new players to fit his scheme every year. So you can almost say that he's basically bringing his whole philosophy of how he recruited everything from Oregon to Philly, and it works year in, year out. I mean, you lose to Sean, oh, they're going to be horrible. Their offense still worked. You get rid of Macklin, they've shown they haven't lost a step in the preseason at all. So, Brad, what are your thoughts on the Phillies?
Well, let's see if we can get any Philly fans up here to give their opinions on exactly how they think that running tandem is going to pan out this year.
You mean Gina?
Hold it on. Yeah, it's on. Okay.
What is your name, sir?
Matt Walters.
Mr. Walters here. Looks like he's wearing some Eagles gear. How do you think this running back three-headed monster is going to pan out for the Eagles this year?
It all depends on health, but their plan is to split. Well, they haven't come out and said their plan is to split carries, but the way it worked in the preseason, DeMarco Murray would take a drive, probably 5 consecutive runs or so, and then they bring in Matthews real quickly. He gets 2 or 3 carries, and then they just keep switching back and forth like that.
So do you think there's going to be a bulk of the load type running back, or do you think they're constantly going to be keeping fresh legs on the field?
I would say it's going to be 70% Murray
Okay.
and 25% for Matthews, and then 5% Sproles, because Sproles is going to be playing a lot of slot. That's what I see. Last year they didn't do that. Everybody thought they would. Sproles was used as a running back, and not really, his strengths weren't utilized last year. And Chip Kelly said that that's the plan this year, to use them the way the Saints used them pretty much.
Okay.
I have a quick question for you. For the fantasy players, since you're an Eagles fan, would you feel comfortable with DeMarco Murray being your running back, knowing that he could lose some goal line carries, possibly to maybe Matthews?
I can say very comfortably that I would not feel comfortable. I have him in most of my leagues, and I'm really worried. So I'm just praying that he doesn't get the touchdowns taken from him, but I think that some of them will be taken.
But you will be happy with touchdowns no matter what as an Eagles fan.
I think there's enough touchdowns that both of them will be all right. But Murray definitely won't get 100% of the rushing touchdowns, for sure.
And as an Eagles fan, how are you concerned with the young wide receiving core now that you've just lost Macklin? Is there any concern there?
As an Eagles fan, I'm concerned about everything every year. Aguilar has shown flashes in the preseason. USC seems to have pretty talented receivers most of the time.
Unless they're Mike Williams.
Matthews, I love Matthews. I'm waiting for my jersey, Matthews jersey. It should be coming in.
On the way.
Huff, we could see in the preseason he's looked good. Last year he didn't look so good. I don't know, if Ertz stays healthy, they'll have plenty of options, I think. Chip Kelly can get anybody open, and now they finally have a quarterback, if he's healthy, that can actually hit him.
That's exactly it. I think Matt really drilled the nail home there. Chip Kelly has proven time after time that he doesn't need Deshaun Jackson. He doesn't need Jerry Maclin. He is a good enough coach and a good enough schemer to really imprint anyone or input anyone into his system, and they can be effective. He can go after their strengths and highlight them, and I think there's no need to fear. Like I've seen it for years now with Chip Kelly. Every year it's, well, they lost him, how are they going to do it? And they do it. Like there's no need to fear, I feel like, anymore. So that's a good point that Chip Kelly makes it happen. He does.
All right, well, Matthew, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else who has any more comments or questions throughout the show, you're more than welcome to come up to the table, talk about your team, and we'll answer some questions for you. All right, we're going to jump to actually, real quick, didn't even get your opinion. Coach, what are your thoughts on this game? Eagles versus the Falcons.
Well, I think it's going to be a rather, I think, a high-scoring game. I think what you're talking about, all the offensive weapons that the Eagles have. Now, don't forget about the couple gentlemen that they applied to their defensive side, which was much needed because their secondary last year was an average anywhere between 264 to 270 passing yards a game. So
and like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. So with the addition of Byron Maxwell and actually the linebacker that they traded to Buffalo to get. Kiko Alonso, now those two, they're going to help him out. And, with Maxwell, and also with Maxwell, you get his experience back there, so that may rub off on some of the other young players in the secondary. So if that improves for the Eagles this year, which hopefully, it should, then you are looking at possibly, it's early, but a division-winning team and a definite playoff team.
Yeah, a possible Super Bowl team as well, if they can stay healthy and Bradford can not get hurt.
Yeah.
Or if he does, Mr. Butt Fumble himself will be coming into play. Mark Sanchez. All right, we're going to go to the Nets game, which is a big NFC East division game. I'm sure Eagles and Redskins fans will keep a lookout for this one, see how these teams two look. And that'll be Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Football Giants. Right off the gate, division game. Whoever wins this will take an early lead in the division, have a big one-up step. Mm-hmm. And I came out and said, I believe whoever loses this game really is going to have a low chance of making the playoffs, especially in this division this year. So this, you hate to say must win so early, but I feel like this is a must-win game for both these teams the very first week because you have to come out strong. And if you come out looking like a slouch, it could go a long way for the season. And this especially is for the Giants. We've seen the past couple of years they start off slow, but they finish strong, but those slow starts have hurt them throughout the years in making the playoffs. I mean, they've had those great runs for the Super Bowl, but it's because of strong finishes. So I'm interested to see how the Giants can start out this year. And with Victor Cruz out, it's going to be the Odell Beckham show tonight. Then you have a running back tandem. You have Rashard Jennings and Andre Williams there, but you add Shane Vereen, who brings in Super Bowl experience and a very good versatile running back. We saw Brady and the Patriots used him a lot last year in the passing downs and wideouts. And the thing I want to see the most is the New York defense. Jason Pierre-Paul, they came out and said he's not playing this week. He could be out for the year. And you saw where Landon Collins, the rookie from Alabama, who was projected actually to be a top 10 pick, fell to them in the second round, which I think could almost be a blessing for the Giants getting this kind of talent in the second round. Came out and said, they're probably going to attack me right off the bat. They're going to go after him because you have Prince out there on one side, but you have Collins in the safety position. So you could see a lot of Des Bryant, Jason Witten across the middle of the field to see how this kid reacts. So I think that's a matchup that maybe we could see would be Witten and Bryant against Collins in that secondary. And on the reverse side, I want to see how Dallas does. Romo has been getting banged up the past couple of years. I want to see how his health is doing this year especially. I want to see how Bryant's coming out perform. I want to see if all these distractions with a contract extension, I want to see if all that's behind him. And the main thing is the running back situation in Dallas. You have McFadden, who's been named the starter. Then you have Joseph Randall back there. So I want to see how is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be 70-30? What's it going to be? And if can McFadden stay healthy? If McFadden can stay healthy with this type of offensive line they have in Dallas, you could see a reemerge of him, and maybe he can finally get his career going. Because, I mean, let's face it, he may have been hurt while he was playing in Oakland, but he wasn't playing probably in the best situation in Oakland. I think a lot of people can say that about that team. Brad, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, this game, obviously, it does have huge implications. You want to get off on the right foot for your season no matter what. But especially in your division, it means even more. So this is a huge game. But I think the biggest thing I want to watch is this run game for Dallas. Last year's a big debate. Is it their offensive line? Is it DeMarco Murray? Is he finally healthy? Is he really this good? Or is this offensive line and this run system that good? And so I'm very, very intrigued to see how Dallas runs the football without their star running back last year, DeMarco Murray, because Randall really has no idea in terms of real feel for being the starter. I know Darren McFadden does, but we know he has some health problems. So I'm very, very curious to see what this run offense for Dallas looks like this year versus the absolutely powerful, strong, destructive run game they had last year. Coach, what's your thoughts on this game?
Well, this is going to be a good game. Probably one of the best to watch. What I'm looking for is with the Giants, they're going to have to get their running game going with the three gentlemen you mentioned: Rashad Jennings, Andre Williams, and Shane Vereen. Because if they get it going, they can get some runs, get it going, then that will open up some situations for Manning to go to Odell Beckham. Now, in the Cowboys secondary, they've with the loss of their free safety was Orlando Scandrick and Roland McClain. How is their secondary? The only plus they have is that Victor Cruz, is unless something miraculously happens, is not going to play this game. So now they only have to deal with Odell Beckham. And what Manning is going to have to do is rely a little bit more on his tight ends. Okay, if the running game can get going and he can start hitting the tight ends, then that opens up, and repeat again for Odell Beckham to get something down the field, across, middle, or outside. And the other thing is you're talking about, Romo, he's got to stay up. The offensive line, big and great, but he still has to stand upright on his feet. And how is that running game with Dallas this year, going to help to open up Witten and Des Bryant and the other receivers? But, I think, like you had said earlier, Witten will take his hits across the middle. Des Bryant will spread them down there. So, that could work out. But the big thing is that how's Dallas running game going to, accommodate the passing game so that Romo's not sitting back there in shotgun and throwing about 50 balls tonight. So, it ought to be a good game.
And we all can agree Dallas is going to be putting out first-round talents everywhere today. I mean, they got Randy Gregory in the second round, took a chance on him. They signed the free agent Collins from LSU, who went undrafted. It seemed like all that legal stuff cleared up. So, I mean, they almost, if you count Collins, they had the best draft, I think, last year in the 2000s. I mean, you can almost agree. If you count Collins as an undrafted bring him in, they had the best draft. Especially, I want to see how Gregory does.
Well, Gregory has picked up the scheme a little better than how he started. So
I want to see how he does, because he was a
his
top
pressure
5 pick.
coming off the corner.
He's potentially a top 5 pick. So we'll have to see how he comes out and do.
All right.
All right, next game we're going to get to here is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Houston Texans. And I think this is going to be a slugfest on defense. You got Justin Houston for the Kansas City side, led the league in sacks last year, came up just short of the record. And then on the other side, you have, everyone knows, you got J.J. Watt. But the man that's been emerging this year, and, he really showcased what he's been doing on Hard Knocks, if you watched it, was Clowney. Like I spoke to you all before the show, they had a situation where they were doing, they always do their little first and goal, first O versus first D. And Clowney was, whoever the first offensive lineman on that side was, Clowney was just blowing by him. And Watt was blowing by him. And, I mean, it could be incredible. It could be a really dangerous matchup for any team. And like I said, in this division with Andrew Luck, you have to have pass rushers. And it seemed like every team in that division, the Jaguars tried, but their first-round pick obviously is gone for the year in Fowler.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you see the Titans went out and went out and get a Rackbo, re-sign Morgan. They're trying to do it. And the same for, Houston with Clowney now healthy, and you have Watt. Everyone went out and got pass rushers for this division. I think it's going to show, and I think Alex Smith, we're going to have to see what he's really about because the dogs are coming after him.
True.
You got Brian Crushing across the middle, who's no slouch. So I think Houston's definitely made strides this year. Their offense, the big question mark is quarterback. You bring in Brian Hoyer from Cleveland, who before he tore his ACL was having a really good year at Cleveland. I mean, he was getting. Of course, you had people like Josh Gordon with him and everything.
Yeah.
But he was having a real good year at Cleveland before he got hurt. And then you have Ryan Mallett, who, he lost the job, and then I think 3 days later he was, he overslept the practice. Whether that's because he was mad about not winning the job, we won't know. And then now you hear the news that Arian Foster could be coming back next week.
Yeah.
And, he's working his tail off, so this Houston team could be a sleeper in this division. I want to see what they're about this week. I really wish Foster had been healthy the whole year because I really would love to see what they're like out of the gates. But on the Kansas City side, Andy Reid went and got a receiver he wanted, and that was his old man, Jeremy Maclin from Philly. He wanted a receiver, and I tell you what, during the preseason, they were slinging the ball around. From a team that no wide receiver caught a touchdown pass last year, their wide receivers were doing some work. You got Kelsey, who now can probably be more utilized because now defenses are like, oh, well, they have no receivers. Let's just double team, triple team Kelsey. Now you got, we got Jeremy Maclin. Kelsey maybe can open up more. You always have a threat, and Jamal Charles have taken to the house every time he touched the ball. Defensive side, like I said, you have Houston. Eric Berry's coming back this year. I've taken a year off from his illness, which is a great story in the NFL.
Yeah.
It was
cancer.
Yeah, it was overlooked a lot. So, and when he came out of Tennessee, he was one of the best safeties in that draft.
Oh, sure.
And we're going to see if he can emerge as one of the best safeties in the league. You have Pope right up the middle. So, I mean, this is going to be a really big slugfest, and I have this game actually as my low-scoring game of the week, and it could be a 13-10, 14-7 game this week.
Sure.
Let's go first with Coach on this one. Coach, what are your thoughts on this game?
It's going to be a good game to watch, I believe. The other thing you're looking at is that Romeo, Cromell, the defensive coordinator for Houston. Now, remember, he ended up, before Andy Reid came in, being the interim coach for a couple games, and then he was the defensive coordinator, for the Chiefs. So he's going to know some of the personnel that Kansas City still has over there. So that's going to give a little advantage to the Houston. And you look at, they're going to come at, Alex Smith with J.J. Watt, Clowney. I believe Vince Wilfork's still up the middle for them. I forgot Vince Wilfork.
You got Wilfork, run stopper right there.
But then on the other side, you have, Brian Hoyer, the starting quarterback for Houston. He won the job. But, with Foster out this first game, that may not be the thing that he needs for lack of help, for the game right out of the chute. Kansas City's going to come after him. Like you said, Eric Berry is back, and also, linebacker Derek Johnson is back now after being hurt last year and out for many games. So I think Kansas City, Alex Smith may have a little bit more tools to work with, and with Foster out, you're looking at a run game. You're looking at Kansas City with Jamal Charles, and if you recall last year, Jamal Charles had 4 more touchdown passes thrown to him than any receiver for Kansas City, which was none. So it's going to be rather interesting. Alex Smith with some weapons to go after, and then you have Houston, who has many weapons to come after Alex Smith, but then Kansas City's not going to hold back either with their defense. They're going to come after Hoyer, and I don't think he has right now in this game as many targets as Alex has for Kansas City. So, one of the things is, Cecil Shorts, who has a wide receiver.
Hopkins, who can
Yeah,
emerge.
Hopkins, who
has to
can
step
emerge.
up. He has to step up
But-
because Johnson's gone.
Right, but you're looking over on Kansas City side, they have a proven wide receiver, Macklin, Jamal Charles, just two of them, two to name a couple more. So I think I would probably give my nod to the Chiefs. Like you say, in a low-scoring game for this one, I'm getting ahead of myself. But it's going to be an interesting game to watch. If you love defense, you're going to like to watch this game.
Here's the thing about the Chiefs last year. Their wide receiving core was bad when J.J. Watt had more touchdowns than their receivers. That's a defensive end had more touchdowns than any of their receivers. That's not good.
No.
And Hopkins, like he said, Hopkins has to step up. Andre Johnson's gone. You lost that target. And I think Hopkins, I follow this Hard Knocks show because I love seeing what goes on in camp, and he's really emerging. There's a lot of young talent there in Houston from this show that they showcase, and now whether it's a show that they're just trying to showcase certain people, they have a lot of young talent there. And speaking of Clowney, making the transition from defensive end to linebacker, their new linebacker coach in Houston is Mike Vrabel from the Patriots.
Yeah.
And he converted from defensive end to linebacker. So can you imagine the knowledge he's given Clowney now that he's gotten back? So, Brad, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think it's very simple. We don't have to discuss Houston's defense. They're going to bring it. That's simple. Watt's going to come out firing. Clowney's going to be there. Vince will be in the middle blocking everything. That doesn't need to be debated. Here's the thing. Can Brian Hoyer move the football down the field in order to compete with Kansas City offense? I think the Kansas City offense is better than Houston, than Houston's offense. Houston and Kansas City both have good defenses. They'll both be there. It's just that I think all eyes are on Hoyer. And hey, can you put up enough points to win this football game? Your defense is going to keep you in this game. Can you do enough to get your team over the edge and win? That is the main thing that I'm looking at in this matchup is Hoyer's ability to move the football and put up points with this team.
That's what I see about that. All right, well, that was our Around the NFL for this week. We're going to shift right into the game that most people here came to watch. We're going to talk some Redskins right now. We're going to get the Redskins versus Dolphins, and after that, we're going to do our Shite Sports Talk picks of the week.
Okay.
For 5 games that we picked. So first, let's go to the Redskins-Dolphins, and the main thing right now for the Redskins is Kirk Cousins is a starting quarterback, not RG3. RG3's out playing scout team safety now during practices. They just reported. So, it's gotten that bad where he's got to do scout team defense?
I better get comfy for this.
So, no, it's not going to be that bad. So you're going to have Kirk Cousins, who, is a better, fit for this offense, as you say. He's going to throw you a ton of interceptions, but he's going to get the ball out quick to his receivers, hopefully let them make plays. But the main thing for Kurt is this offensive line has to perform this week, especially against, as I mentioned during the fantasy part of our show, Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh, because they're looking at tapes of this preseason, the Miami's defense, they're saying, all right, their offensive line bad. Wake and Suh, you better get after them and go get them hard and quick. And so we have to see how that's going to happen for the Redskins, if they can even run the ball against this duo up front. Because, Dolphins, they already had a pretty good defensive weight, but when you add Suh across the middle, you're going to have to start running some east and west. North and south is going to be really hard. But I really want to see, speaking of north and south, is how Matt Jones does with powering up the middle. But a little off topic, let's get with the quarterback. Let's stay with the quarterback still with Kirk Cousins. I believe, I think he'll hopefully make the offense better. I think he'll get the ball out quicker. He won't hold it that long. Whether he makes interceptions or not, let's see how he does. We saw during the Ravens preseason game, he threw the early pick to Terrell Suggs, which you can debate that wasn't his fault because the offensive lineman didn't keep Suggs' hand down and Suggs' hands were free to go up and catch. So you can debate that. But then people were worried, okay, well, when he normally does this is when he would mess up, come back and throw 3 more interceptions. The next snap he got, he fumbled, but then calmed himself down and drove them down the field. So that's what the main thing is, Kirk Cousins mentally. And then if something happens to him today, you're going to have Colt McCoy going right after him. RG3, I believe, is going to be inactive this week. They just named also Colt the backup. So, the drama just continues. But, Brad, what are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins this week?
I really look for his poise. I want to see now, Kirk, you've had 3 years in the NFL. You've started games. You've came in and played in games. You have enough experience now that you need to put it to work. And so I want to see, if he's calm, if he's relaxed and just does his job and doesn't think, oh my gosh, like there's so much drama, there's all this RG3 stuff, if I don't play well, whatever. He is experienced enough in the NFL where he shouldn't be throwing 4 picks a game. I want to see that he is done doing that, and there's going to be pressure in his face, and he better be able to stay calm, stay poised, and deliver the football. So really today, I just want to see how his demeanor is. If he looks panicky, if he looks skittish, not good. I just want to see that he can be calm and say, hey, look, I'm ready to be a starter in the NFL. It's go time.
Coach, what are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins this week and what you've seen from him in the preseason?
Well, I think what it gets to is, and I think there was an article in the paper this morning, it's a mind game for Cousins. I mean, last year it was in, out, fill in for this game, come in for this game. You got 7 games, okay. If you're going to do this and that, you're not going to be back in there. Then he gets replaced with Colt McCoy. But coming out right now and saying this is Kirk's team, okay? So there's a little bit of relief because now it's my team. I'm the quarterback. I'm the starting quarterback. So let's get things going. And it's still gonna how he comes out of the chute. And people say the first series or whatever, but I think it's gonna first couple series. How is he going to operate the offense and get it going in his decision making? Is he more comfortable now to make the right decisions and not try to get something big or make something big happen to get the Redskins rolling? Just relax, do his job, and things will roll right to you at that point. So that's what you have to look at with Kurt.
All right, now let's jump on the Redskins' other side of the ball, and let's go with their defense, where they made some off-season transactions, if we can like to say that, try to make their defense better.
Sure.
They went out and get Chris Culliver, who we saw he has a fiery attitude with the little incident he had with Steve Smith in the 3rd preseason game.
Yeah.
But Steve Smith, he likes to get under people's skin very easily.
Yeah.
He's a little bit trash talker. But let's talk about this defensive line. You go out and get Pot Roast for 1 year. You go out and get Stephen Paya. You still have Jason Hatcher out there who didn't he was injured last year, so you can't really judge the way he performed last year. So I really look forward to this team against the Miami's offensive line, with the Lamar Miller running the ball. I think it's going to be very interesting. The one thing that concerns me, you got D'Angelo Hall. That's a big question mark. How's he going to come back from 2 torn Achilles? The others, you have Rashard Breeland suspended for the first game, so Hall's going to have to play that spot. And then Emerson, how's he going to do? I mean, he didn't really develop as best as you guys wish. The big question mark for me for this Redskins defense is going to be the linebacking core, where you have Ryan Kerrigan and then you have Murphy who's getting the nod. Mm-hmm. You have Preston Smith, but I feel like their linebacking core, they're not very stacked. Not very efficient. They're not stacked. There's no depth. So, you lose someone like Kerrigan, you're in trouble as a Redskins fan. You're sweating as soon as if Kerrigan would get hurt. If any of them get hurt, you might be sweating because
Okay, but you don't go into a season thinking, okay, how can I build my bench because I plan on my starters getting hurt? Like, that's not the way you address a football game. You address a football game, how can I put the best team out on the field? Like, not what can I have waiting in the wings for me when my best team gets hurt? Like, I'm not even thinking about that. I don't care about that.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying there's no depth behind them. If something would go wrong, like when a Ratbo, there's no depth. I feel like every position you need depth. You see different teams will have depth at different positions, and I think not only is it depth, but I think this is a question mark for the linebacking. I think the linebacking core is a question mark besides Kerrigan. Can you agree with that?
In terms of us making the playoffs, I'll agree with you in that, Mark. But in terms of just opening day, our first game, I don't care about what depth we have. I care that our starters are going to be able to lead us through majority of the year.
All right, Coach, what are your thoughts on this linebacking core here?
Well, working with defense like I do at a lower level, sometimes I have to disagree. I'm looking at a backup. I look at, as a fan, you look at the stars and you go, oh, it's great, great, great. And then boom, a starter goes out. Wait a minute, who are they going to bring in? Do they have to go out and get somebody? Or do they have somebody there? Well, that's what the draft is for. And they drafted a couple linebackers this year in their draft. And if they can relate to what the Redskins need, the possible if one of their outside backers comes down and one of those young guys can step in. But, like I say, you look at the starters, you have to look at depth. Do they have linebackers that can come in and play the middle? Because they're in that 3-4 defense. You better have some linebackers in a 3-4, and you better have a couple linebackers that in your depth that, boom, goes down. Because, you look at these defensive schemes, they're bringing in, one of the linebackers is going to come out, they're going to bring in somebody who's a rush specialist or whatever. So at some point in time, if your starting linebacker goes out, now your rush specialist is going to have to come in and play, boom, you're full-time now. That's not coming in on third down, and I've got to be able to say, okay, he can handle this if I put him in as an entire game instead of getting him 20, 30 plays, coming off the bench. And that. You want to have a good possible depth back there because, in the NFL, you never know when the time comes, and it always goes, and it gets like a lot of coaches go, and we start to. It's next man up, and you see a lot of colleges and pros go with it. It's next man up.
See, and I agree with you, but I don't think you game plan for that. I think you deal with that when it happens. I think what they should be more focused on is their starters. Is say, hey, look, are these linebackers going to be able to get us some wins? And if they go down, we'll deal with it. But the way I'm drawing out my year is with my starting roster. This is my starting roster. Yeah, sure, injuries do happen, but this is the plan we're going to. The plan does change, and when it does change, you make the adjustments. But I don't think you start game planning for making adjustments right away. You may have something in the wing that's brewing, but I think your season opener, that should not be weighing on your mind that much. I think what should be more on your mind is, are we ready to win this football game today?
You always ready. You always. That's what you always do. Ready to win. Remember, they signed Gillette. He was supposed to be the outside pass rusher opposite Kerrigan. Now he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, boom, who's the backup? Now let's get him going right away. Okay. Now I didn't plan on having to use him. I planned on Gillette opposite Kerrigan. Now I'm coming out. Wait a minute. Hold it. Now is it Peters getting to work now? Or the other outside backer they have sitting there. So, it's now their game planning for the defense, and it's overall defensive game plan. This is what we're going to do in this situation. And like I said, in the NFL, different situations calls for different players. You'll see players running in and out, one or two or three in each situation. So that is the game plan for, that offense that they're running against.
But, can we all agree that outside, the linebacker is probably the biggest question mark, I think, besides Kerrigan in this defense? I think secondary, I think they made very good improvements, especially the safety position, which they were hurting because Brandon Mayweather couldn't stay healthy or he could not get suspended when he was there. And I think with, when Breedlin comes back next week, you're going to have Hall, Breedlin, and Culliver. I think that's a really good secondary core. And like I said, you have Pot Roast up the middle now. So I think the linebacking core outside of Kerrigan is just the only question mark. And I feel like they get those in the middles and the other side, get those guys going. This could be a really good defense for the Redskins this year.
I think it'll be way better. And yes, the biggest question mark is the linebacker of the different sections of the defense. Yes, the biggest question mark I think would be linebacking core.
All right, let's jump back to the offensive side real quick. And I really want to get into the running back for the Redskins, where you're going to have Matt Jones, and then you're going to have Alfred Morris, which could turn out to be a really good tandem in the NFL. As we saw, Morris has been the workload horse for the past, 3 years he's been in the league? Yeah, he came in the same year as RG3.
Yep.
He's been the workhorse. And, he's had his, Roy Halou take over. But really, they've been relying on Alfred to carry the load. And as we've seen, you do that a lot to a running back early in his career, the wear and tear starts to affect. But now that you have Matt Jones there, you can change up the pace a little bit. And Jones, not only is Jones a hard runner, he can catch the ball and run out the field. We saw him, he was running over guys left and right during the preseason. So I think it's going to be a really good running back tandem that you have there, and I'm really interested to see how they utilize it. It's going to be 90-10 Morris, 80-20, or 70-30. And I really think, if something were to happen to Morris, you have a reliable backup in that rookie, and I really can't wait to see how they use this, especially on third downs. I want to see, and goal lines, I want to see if it's second and goal from the 2, is Morris still in there, or do you bring in Jones? If it's 3rd and 1, do you go with Morris or Jones, especially against this Dominic Sue up front. That's what I'm really interested to see. So, Brad, what are your thoughts of the running backs here?
I think Alf is going to be our starter, and I think he will get the bulk of the load. But I do think that Gruden wants to find a change of pace and a way to get Matt Jones the football. I think I read a report that said Gruden's going to try and give him the ball at least 10 carries today. And I know he does want that change of pace out of Jones, but I think he also wants the big play ability out of Jones. Alfred Morris is very dependable. He's a solid runner. He always falls forward for yards, but I think Jones has a little bit more spark to him, a little bit younger legs. So I think they look for Jones for the big play ability, but rely on Alfred for majority of the runs.
Coach, your thought on the running backs?
Well, I thought on the Redskins running backs, and let me get off center here. We talked about Philadelphia with their three, and we called it the three-headed dragon or whatever. Well, with Alfred Morris and Matt Jones, you're looking at a backfield combo that could be just as good, if not better, because you have two physical backs. And both of them, and Alfred has worked on his catching abilities out of the backfield this year, and Matt also can catch out of the backfield. So that they're going to have a capable running game. All they have to do is block for him up front to get this thing going.
All right, and then like we were just talking about, you do have Thompson behind those two, which is really good change of base, Pat, with the passing game. He probably won't be seeing too much there. Now let's get into the receiving core for the Redskins, and you're going to have Deshaun Pierre obviously starting the outside. And it's a slot I want to look into. Like we said during our previous show, I love Jordan Crowder. I fell in love with him, and I think he showed himself the preseason games he got to get in there. He showed he can make some moves. Andre Roberts obviously going to be in there. So I think when they put in some 4 wide receiver sets, you're going to see some little fancy stuff going on. Ryan Grant made the team, but I think mostly it's going to be Pierre, Deshaun, Crowder, and Roberts. And I think if Crowder can prove himself to be a very reliable slot, I think Roberts could maybe slide down the depth chart a little bit to number 4 if Crowder can emerge. And Crowder has also been listed as the punt return man. Mm-hmm. So Crowder, he can make plays. He's a game changer. He's not as good as what Deshaun was when Deshaun came to the league, but he's a guy who on punt returns that can change this game quickly to where if you're down 14-0 in an instant like this, it's 14-7 in a blink of an eye if he can take it back. So I'm interested to see how Jordan Crowder does, because we know what Deshaun can do, we know what Pierre to do. I want to see what this rookie can do. Brad, what are your thoughts on this receiving core?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to find out, the transition that Jameson can make from Duke to the NFL. It's a big jump, but from everything that people are saying, he's been effective. He's been able to make the transition. He's got great speed. I just look for, can we get them the football? I feel like our receiving core completely underperformed last year simply because we couldn't get them the ball. So I think a lot of our receivers' production and stats and impact this year is very, very dependent on our ability to get them the football. And so, it kind of ties in a little bit with Cousins and the offensive line, but I think once they get the ball, I think they will be playmakers. So I look for big things. I just hope that we can get them the football.
Coach, what are your thoughts on the wide receiving core here?
Well, I like the wide receiving core the Redskins have. It's a good group of gentlemen. Just have, like you said before, you have to get them the ball. I mean, if you get these guys the ball, timing and their patterns, you look at a group that could be in the top 6 or top 7 receiving groups in the NFL. You have Deshaun Jackson, you have Pierre Garçon, both 2 proven wide receivers. Just, get them the ball and they'll prove what they can do with it. And, Crowder's going to come along, and you have Roberts and Grant. So you have speed. There's no lack of speed in the receiving core.
There's a ghost over here in the corner. The lights are going off and on. We got a little ghost over here.
We got a light show going on over here.
Maybe it means to shut down.
Real quick before we go to the Dolphins, I want to thank again Buffalo Wings and Beer for letting us come out here and do our first ever live podcast. So thank you to Buffalo Wings and Beer, wherever Eddie's at. Thank you very much for letting us come out here. And Ira. So thank you for letting us come out here. You can find Buffalo Wings and Beer in the Kingsview Shopping Center in Germantown, Maryland. Come out here and enjoy the great variety of wings, great beer selection, and all your NFL needs on Sunday and Monday Night Football. So please come out and enjoy it.
Let the fans know. know if they want to come up and talk.
Yeah. And also, any fans out there right now that are listening to us in Buffalo Wings and Beer, you can always come over and say a few things about the Redskins or your team if you have any questions. So come on over. We'll have a mic for you if you want to say anything. So let's jump into the Dolphins and talk about them. And we've been saying throughout the whole show, Namakatsu will make this a difference maker with Cameron Wake. And I really want, like I said, I want to see the offensive line for the Redskins against this. Because they're going to put, sooner or later we're going to see Sue versus Sheriff. And I want to see that. We saw Sheriff, he struggled a lot during the preseason, during the pass protection. So we have to see how that goes because they're going to take advantage of that and they're going to want to.
Mm-hmm.
And then another big matchup is I think we're going to have Wake versus Trent Williams. You're going to have the top defensive rusher against your top pass protector, so I want to see how that goes. Brad, what are your thoughts on this defensive line versus offensive line matchup?
There are a lot of individual matchups between that defensive line and our offensive line. You keyed on Sheriff and also on Williams, but really, this is a huge test early for the Redskins' offensive line because Miami has one of the best defensive lines. If we plan on being remotely productive and win football games, we got to give our quarterback time against any pass rush or the best pass rush to deliver the football to our wide receivers. So, this is looking at Sheriff, okay, looking at Williams, okay. This is a whole offensive line test. Can we all and can our running backs help keep our quarterback protected, give our quarterback enough time to deliver the football to the playmakers that we have? And so, this is huge. This will set the tone for the year for our offensive line, whether or not they're going to be able to give Cousins time to make plays.
Coach, your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I think with the offensive line versus the Miami Dolphins, I believe that Alfred Morris and Matt Jones are going to have to play a big issue in this because one of them in there running back may have to come up and help with either Sue or wait to get the passing game going. Sure. So we'll see how that works and see what kind of schemes they come with to try to block these two.
And also, I want to see how Lamar Miller does this year. He's really been emerging as a back, and I think he's got to be Tannehill's little safe haven because Tannehill, we've seen his struggle, but I think this has to be the year Tannehill takes the next step. So I really see how the Redskins secondary, especially Kerrigan, responds to Tannehill this year. He's got Landry on the outside. You're going to have Greg Jennings. You have some, veteran presence there. And then the rookie Devontae Parker and see how that goes. So, Brad, what are your thoughts on this Dolphins offense?
The offense, I think, is going to be good this year. I think Tannehill is slowly more coming into his own, becoming, climbing the rankings in terms of, top quarterbacks in the NFL. And along with their young receiving core. I think they're all making names for themselves. And when I look at their offense versus our defense, our secondary needs to step it up. Last year, they were absolutely terrible. But we also need our defensive line, which is revamped, to put pressure on Tannehill to put a little bit less pressure on the secondary. So I really look for this defensive line to get in Tannehill's face, try and disrupt plays in the backfield to make it a little bit easier for the secondary to guard the targets that Miami has.
Also, I want to give a little shout out to one of the Dolphins starting linebackers, Janelle Jenkins from Florida. He's actually from Gaithersburg, Maryland, and went to Good Counsel, so he's a little local Moco boy there.
Okay.
So that should be a little thing to watch. Just see a little Moco guy out there playing, starting for him. He was from the University of Florida. So I want to see also, we have to take a look at the matchup between the secondary for the Dolphins against the Redskins receiving corps, to where Kirk Cousins is going to have to get Deshaun the ball. You have to utilize your playmaker, and that is Deshaun Jackson. You have to get him either downfield, maybe run some bubble screens or something. You have to give him the ball. And when you give Deshaun the ball, it also opens up for Pierre. And also, what we haven't really talked about is Jordan Reed. He's got to stay healthy this year. You got to keep Reed healthy, because if Reed's healthy, I think he's one of the top tight ends in the league. He's got the size, he's got the physical tools, but Jordan Reed has to stay healthy. So what are your thoughts on this Redskins receiving core and how Jordan Reed should perform this year?
On paper, the Redskins have fantastic receivers. Reed, when he's healthy, is good. Obviously, Deshaun Jackson's been an impact player for years now in the NFL. And you have Garcon, who's a stud receiver, good hands, and then possibly a young playmaker in Crowder. It's just a matter of can we give Cousins enough time to get them the football? Because I think we can make plays against this secondary that Miami has. I simply worry that our offensive line is gonna way too much pressure, and they're going to fold a little bit, and Cousins isn't going to have time to deliver the football. But if Cousins does have time, look for our receivers to be making big plays today.
Okay, another thing we're going to look at for the Redskins this year is their special teams. The past couple of years, their special teams have been horrendous. I mean, they're just getting kicks returns for touchdowns, going 50, 40 yards. And the Dolphins' returner is LaMichael James out of Oregon, and he's no slouch himself. So let's think about how do you think the special teams are going to be this year, especially with LaMichael James taking the kicks?
Well, I worry about our special teams. We gave up several special teams touchdowns. Our defensive special teams is something that has to be addressed. Everyone has to stay at home better. We just need to be better on special teams. Missing assignments, getting thrown off blocks. We just gotta be stronger, and we have to be better. And offensively, I don't think we were terrible. We didn't really alter much field position last year in terms of punt returns, but I don't think it killed us. I think just literally kickoff returns and punt return defense was terrible, and it just has to get better. You have to want it. Special teams is all about heart. You just want to make that. You got to want to make that play, and we need key guys who have a lot of heart, in order to make big plays like that and not allow to give up touchdowns.
And also, just real quick reminder, everyone, we will be here only until 1 p.m., right up till Redskins kickoff. Also, anyone out there who have any questions about their teams, maybe some Redskins questions, how you feel they're going to do this year, come out, give us your prediction. What do you think the Redskins record is going to be? So anyone here who's a Skins fan, come over and give us your prediction for their record this year. Also, we are the Shipe Sports Talk Show. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and www.shipesportstalk.com. Pretty good. It's usually Paul's line, but I took it over for today. All right, so, the Redskins matchup, let's go into what we think they're going to do this year. We've looked at today's matchup, but let's give our predictions for the record this year and how we think they're going to do. So, first...
Anybody in the stands, come over. What's your prediction?
I said that.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, I said,
must have been sleeping.
Anyone else?
What's your prediction?
You have to pull up another chair then.
All right, we're going to have some people come up and give their predictions for the game.
Yeah, why not?
And for the season. So just give us your record prediction.
My name's Emily. I'm Brad's sister. This is my mom.
Hi. Connie.
Redskins. I think we're going to go. There's 16 games.
500.
500. Yeah.
That's not bad.
All right, optimistic.
I'm going to say we're going to win 9 games.
So 9-7, so not 500.
Yeah.
Just above 500, 9-7 for the Skins.
What were we last year?
4-12.
Oh, that's nice.
See? We're positive.
Ravens.
It's good. It's good that you guys are positive, but there's a lot of question marks for the Skins. How well do you think Cousins will do this year?
He's going to do great, as I'm wearing a Robert Griffin jersey.
Burn that jersey.
It's all I have.
Burn the jersey.
Yeah, he's going to do well.
I have a lot of hope for Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
come here.
Looks like we got some other sports fans that maybe want to ask us some questions.
We have a Ravens fan over here. Any prediction for the Ravens game today?
Thank you guys.
Come on over.
Come here. Here, tell everyone your name.
Here.
Tell everyone your name.
Your name?
Colton,
Colton, what do you think? How do you think the Ravens are going to do this year? What's going to be? How many wins are they going to win?
like 8 or 9.
8 or 9? You think you'll make the playoffs?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, you a diehard Ravens fan?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite player?
It was Torrey Smith, but
He's in San Francisco now.
yeah. So probably like Justin Forsett.
Okay, there
good
you go.
choice.
Nice.
Good choice.
Does your other son want to come over and make a prediction for the Colts?
Yeah. He's got the Colts jersey on over there.
Yeah, come on over.
Come on, predict today's game.
Come on over.
Come on.
Interact with us. How do you think the Colts are going to do this year? Give us your prediction for wins.
Have a seat. Have a seat.
Have a seat.
Right here. Get on TV. Get televised.
I think they'll go 13-3 this year.
13-3?
Good pick.
Okay.
Good.
I think
That's a good prediction.
how is Andrew Luck going to do against Buffalo Day? That's a tough defense up there in Buffalo.
Yeah, but we got a lot of weapons that we can use, I think.
we'll overpower them.
I think you're right. Good call. Well said.
Well said. How do you think they're going to do this year?
13-3 is probably good.
13-3?
Really going to depend on the offensive line. You know, they didn't do much to address that, and then a lot of injuries on the defensive line. So we'll see what happens.
I'm a Titans fan, so go easy on us this year, please.
I
Go
know.
easy on us.
You got your quarterback of the future, though.
We hope.
Yep. Good luck.
Packers fan.
No?
You can come on over, my man. Come on over.
You're not shy. You can dance if you want.
How do you think the Packers are going to do?
I think they'll go like 12-4.
12-4.
Jordy Nelson's not there this year, so they're gonna really key on
Cobb?
Cobb, yeah. But I think Devontae Adams will do good this year too.
I hope he does. I have him on fantasy.
Yeah.
Big stage now for Devontae Adams. Well, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Anybody else out there would like to give a prediction?
Anyone else
for
would like to give any
their
Redskins
favorite team
predictions?
Today's game.
Yeah, if you have any favorite team predictions, come on over. So I guess we'll go ahead and give our predictions for the Redskins this year. So, Brad, start with you. Don't say the game today, though, because we still have that coming up. So what's your prediction for the year?
I predict the Skins will win 5 games this year. I think our offensive line just has too much to overcome, and we just have still too many problems in terms of being able to get the ball to the receivers. So I see us winning 5 games this year.
Coach?
I believe, what were they, 4-12 last year? They got 6-10. There are 6 games out there that are possible wins versus the Skins. So I think they'll definitely get the 6 wins, and that will build. And I'm going to go in and 6-10, and then and then next year it'll be better. Let all these guys they have this year blend into one, and that'll get them rolling.
And I'm going to go with the final one. I'm going to say 5 wins as well. I think they're going to struggle a little bit. Kirk Cousins may take a little while to get going, so I'm going to go with 5 wins. I think they're just not there yet. I think this year we'll see if Cousins isn't the quarterback. Obviously, they may look to take one next year in the draft, so maybe, hopefully.
We'll have to address that another day.
Yeah, so we'll go with that. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to go around with our picks. We selected 5 games every week. We're having a little pool between us 3 plus our producer, Paul. Little competition between all of us. Paul, I hope you're ready for this.
Sure.
So the first game we're all going to do is going to be the Redskins versus the Dolphins. So, Brad, who's your pick for Redskins versus the Dolphins?
Redskins fans, you're not going to like this. I got Miami winning today. I think their pass rush is just overpowering compared to our offensive line. I think they're going to give Cousins, a lot of pressure and a headache, and I think they end up getting the W today.
All right, Coach, your prediction for Redskins versus Dolphins.
Redskins win the game late. Late field goal.
I'm jumping. Sorry, that's loud. I'm jumping in with Coach on that side.
And I'm going to go with Brad with the Dolphins. I think their pass rush is going to be too hard. I think Cousins is going to be running around there a lot, so I'm going to go with the Dolphins. All right, the next game we're going to go to is going to be number 1 versus number 2 pick. We're going to do the Titans versus the Bucks. So, Brad, what's your pick for this one?
This is a tough one because, it's really a matter of which rookie quarterback will handle their nerves the best. The teams are relatively balanced in terms of talent, but I'm going to go with the Titans. I just think Mariota is a little bit more game ready at this point than Winston. From what I've seen in the preseason, Mariota looks a little bit more comfortable, so I'm going with the Tennessee.
Coach?
I'm going to go with the Titans.
Paul?
Sorry, what game are we
Titans versus the Buccaneers.
I'll go with you guys, Titans.
All right, and I'm also going to go with the Titans, as you could probably assume. So the next one, we all unanimously picked that Mariota will beat out Jameis Winston in their rematch from the college football playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So next game is going to be another NFC game. We're going to go Dallas versus the Giants. Brad, who do you got in this game?
This is a tough game, but I'm gonna take Dallas. Despite the fact that I don't want to, I'm gonna take Dallas. I think Dallas just has way too much firepower. If Victor Cruz was playing in this game, it would be a different scenario. But for me, I'm going to take Dallas. I think they just have too many weapons and score too much. Coach, what do you got?
Me, I have, let me see, I had it over here. Dallas, I'll give you a score, 24-13.
Paul?
Let's see. I'm going to go with Dallas as well.
And I guess I'm the only one. I'm going with the New York Giants. I like their weapons on offense. I think Landon Collins is going to step up on the big stage for his first game. So I'm going to go with the Giants. Our next game is going to be another defensive battle we talked about. Will be Houston versus Kansas City. Brad?
I'll take Kansas City. I just think Brian Hoyer is not ready yet with that team to win big games, and Kansas City is a tough squad. So I'm taking Kansas City.
Coach?
Kansas City, more potent offense, I believe, right now.
Paul?
Who was it was Kansas City and who?
Houston?
I'm going Houston just to mess with you guys.
And I'm going to go with Kansas City because they have a great defense, and I think their offense is going to surprise some people. And the last game that we're going to pick for the week will be New Orleans versus Arizona, which I think will be a really good matchup. Arizona's defense against Drew Brees and the Saints, so without Jimmy Graham. So, Brad, who are you picking?
I'm going to take Arizona. I think Arizona has a lot to prove after last year. You know, they had to deal with some pretty big injuries, Carson Palmer, but Andre Ellington has a lot to prove also. So I'm going to take Arizona with with a lively football game.
Coach?
Wait a minute, I had the notes here for that one there. Where'd it go? Hold on. Yeah, I'm old. I don't keep things.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll go while he's looking.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'll go with Breeze in New Orleans because I have him in fantasy. That's why. Got to get something going.
Oh, Arizona.
And I'm going to go with Brad and Coach and leave Paul by himself on this one. I'm going to go with Arizona.
You'll see.
So if New Orleans wins, Paul, you're taking a big. If New Orleans and Houston wins, Paul, you're taking the lead in this little pick'em.
I'm crazy.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up here at Buffalo Wings and Beer for our first live NFL Sunday kickoff show. The corner over here will be open back up for your seating requirements. So thank you, everyone, for coming out and listening to us. We all appreciate it. You can find us as Shipe Sports Talk on Facebook. We're on Twitter. You can catch all our other podcasts live on YouTube. We do a weekly show every Thursday at 7 p.m. on YouTube. You can look us up at Shipe Sports Talk. You can also do www.shipesportstalk.com. And you can send us questions and comments at shipesportstalk@gmail.com. So once again, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for Buffalo Wings and Beer for having us. Eddie and Ira, we appreciate it. And everyone, enjoy your Sunday and have a great first week of the NFL season. Thank you.
Go Skins!
All right, cut.